Let's go ahead and get started. Welcome to the regular meeting of the Board of Public Works for today, Monday, October 16, 2017.
Commissioner Rivas, Commissioner James, Commissioner Jacinto are present. President James, we do have a quorum. Just for the record, Commissioner Davis just joined the meeting as well. Can we start with Bureau introductions, please, starting with Bureau of Sanitation? Jose, if you can just come up to the mic, please.
Jose Garcia, Bureau of Sanitation.
Good morning. Abram Tejeda with Bureau of Street Services.
Good morning. Mahmoud Karimzadeh, Bureau of Engineering.
Frank Reynaldo with the Bureau of Contract Administration.
Good morning. Ruben Flamenco, Bureau of Street Lighting.
Good morning. Ted Jordan, Public Works General Counsel.
Fernando Campos, Executive Officer. President James, we do not have any speaker cards under general public comment. We also do not have any commentary under the Neighborhood Council comment section. We did receive speaker cards on item number 1 for today's agenda.
Okay, well, we'll close general public comment as well as the Neighborhood Council category of commentary. Is there a second to my motion that we approve the meeting minutes from the meeting of Monday, September 18, 2017 by Commissioners Repenning and Rivas? Any objection? Without objection, we will approve those meeting minutes. We have a certificate presentation this morning, Engineering the Future. We will start there with Commissioner Rivas.
Good morning, Commissioners, Bureau Representatives, City Attorney, Executive Officer. I'm very excited today to honor 4 individuals that were instrumental in planning and leading an event that we held last week in partnership with the Society of Hispanic Professional Engineers. We had an event here at the Tom Bradley Room that had a very good turnout of Latino and Latina engineers, welcoming them to the city for them to learn more about what we do here at Public Works and what great careers we offer. In addition, we had a panel that included Enrique Saldivar from Sanitation and others. So we were able to interact and welcome the engineers to City Hall for that evening. A little bit about the Society of Hispanic Professional Engineers. This organization was started by engineers that worked for BOE in the 70s. I was able to meet one of the founders at the event, and when he said when he was at Public Works, 3 commissioners at the time in 1974 really helped him and supported this organization, in addition to the city engineer, which was Donald Tillman. And so it was great to hear the history and connect, and I'm happy to continue that support for this organization. So it started here in the city of Los Angeles in our department, and it's now a national organization with thousands of members and hundreds of chapters at universities, as well as professional chapters all over the country in different cities. And in November, they have a huge conference. So I'm very proud that it was started here at the City of LA in our department. And I'm excited that these 4 individuals joined me to make this happen. And without them, this would not be possible. And we have plans for more, and I'm very excited that they got involved. So today, I'm very excited to honor them, and I'm going to call them up here. The first, Judith Ibarra Bianchetta, sorry. Yes. So Judith is with the Society of Hispanic Professional Engineers, the LA chapter, and she's also with Tetra Tech. And we also had some of our engineers from Public Works, from different bureaus, assist us. We have Miguel Cermeno from Sanitation. He was one of them that started it all and really got involved and was instrumental in this event. So thank you. We have Adelia Clerk from Street Services. And Adriana Burrayo from Sanitation. So thank you for your support in this event and for really helping us spread the word within Public Works and your outside networks. I'm very proud of all the details that you went through to get this event planned. And I know we're really starting to have an active group within Public Works that cares about diversity and wants to get involved to increase diversity in the engineers that we hire. So thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Commissioner Rivas. We'll start with Commissioner Jacinto.
Thank you, President James. Commissioner Rivas, congratulations on a great event. Thank you for your leadership in continuing what was started a generation ago out of Public Works that really represents diversity in the best of Los Angeles in terms of Hispanic Latino Heritage Month, and I vibe with that, and I appreciate you inviting me to be a part of it. To Judith, Adelia, Adriana, and Miguel, thank you for chipping in, for doing great work, because professional societies like that are very important pipelines for not only your work as professional engineers, but people who see that when they see you there in your positions, when they see Commissioner Rivas and all you in your positions, that's important visualization to say they can get there as well. So I enjoyed meeting all the young engineers too as well, and look forward to continue working with you on diversity issues as we engineer our city workforce of the future, not only the public, but the private, but the public sector as well. So thank you very, very much.
Thank you, Commissioner Jacinto. Commissioner Davis.
Good. Thank you so much, Commissioner Rivas, for the work that you have done. Outstanding leadership. I welcome the work that you have done. I thought it was so appropriate for Latino Heritage Month for you to organize engineers. And I know personally, being on a college campus, how difficult engineering can be. I often joke that I only walked past the engineering building on my college campus and don't even know what the lobby looks like. But we think that you are role models for others. And when we look at the profession of engineering, it is one of those professions where minorities are underrepresented, and so are women. So it's refreshing to see that you have moved forward with the leadership to include more Latinos in the engineering profession, particularly here in the city of Los Angeles. So again, I commend you.
Thank you, Commissioner Davis. Commissioner Repenning?
I just want to thank you, Commissioner Rivas, for your leadership. We are fortunate as a board and as a department to have someone who is an engineer representing women, representing Latinas, with incredible academic background. And for you to be able to sort of be the face of what engineering can and should look like in our city, I think is really important and powerful. Thank you, Judith, and thank you to the folks from Public Works for your leadership in this area. We appreciate the time you've put into making the project happen and look forward to working with you more. Congratulations.
Thank you, Commissioner Repenning. And Commissioner Rivas, thank you. Your role on this board is so important for the city, and your leadership just shines through on the projects that you take. And this was so well done. I really should have been there. I told Commissioner Rivas that I had committed to some speaking engagement that I couldn't really get out of, but I will be at the next event. And I know that some real time went into it because I passed by the halls, or I passed by in the halls, Commissioner Rivas' office when you all would be in there planning it. I would stick my head in and sometimes tease Judith about a football game that was played on Saturday. But we won this year, Judith. 2 in a row. But in all seriousness, the work that you all do is very important for our city, and it's great to see that this, as Commissioner Jacinto mentioned, this organization that's started a generation ago is continuing and full speed ahead. I like to quote something that I heard the great Councilwoman Nuri Martinez say, and I will never forget it, and I will quote it often. You can't be what you can't see. I think it's very important, the role model position that you all have taken for the work that you're doing for engineers in the Latino and Hispanic community, and we look forward to many, many more here in the city of Los Angeles. So thank you all. What we will do is just take a brief recess from our agenda and get a photograph over here with all of you, and we'll be right back in just a minute. So congratulations again, and thank you all.
Thank you.
Is sanitation withdrawing number 2?
Item number 2 has been withdrawn by the Bureau, correct?
Okay, so item number 2 is being withdrawn. Let's go to agenda item number 1. Bureau of Engineering, Council District 1, hearing and change order number 113, Los Angeles Police Department Police Academy Project, replacement training facility and administration building, cafe and 4 shooting ranges renovation project. I'll quickly go through the recommendations on the board, but we have proceeded beyond these through 2 prior hearings, and we'll bring ourselves current. Recommending the board first find Kemp's claim lacks merit in part, and that Kemp is only entitled to $791,300 and additional 193 additional calendar days based on the unforeseen site utility redesign, mechanical shaft redesign, and the transformer and pedestal for fire water booster pump redesign. Secondly, authorize the city engineer to issue construction unilateral change order number 113 to Kemp for an amount not to exceed $791,300 associated with the unforeseen site underground utility redesign, mechanical shaft redesign, and the transformer and pedestal for fire water booster pump redesign. Third, authorize the city engineer to issue a deductor change order in the amount of $267,550 for replacement and repair of the air conditioning units 1 and 3 at the Police Academy Training Building. 4, authorize $406,278 in additional contingency and approve a revised construction budget of $19,701,326 for the LAPD Police Academy project. And 5th, receive and file the disputed change order log for no merit. Mr. Kawaguchi, on number 1, I wonder, Alan, as we go forward, if maybe we shouldn't, come on up, if maybe we shouldn't do a revised board report, but so that we don't have so many amendments and something makes sense, and so it all makes sense for the public record. But why don't you let me summarize very briefly, and then on where I think we are, and then you can bring us up to speed on where we really are. So we had the Kemp brothers had requested basically an open mediation is how I will characterize it, hearing for what the Bureau of Engineering had recommended the change order look like and what Kemp Brothers had suggested the change order look like. During that open hearing that happened some time ago, maybe 6-8 weeks now, there were a couple of things that came out of the meeting. One, on Commissioner Jacinto's motion, we put an amount on the table of $1,058,000, which was movement up from the initial amount that the Bureau of Engineering had recommended in an attempt to settle the matter. The air conditioning issue was still pending. Due to the pending nature of the air conditioning issue, the item was continued over so that we could have you come back and report that the air conditioning units had been installed to the confirmed satisfactory of the Bureau of Engineering and whatever warranties and such you need. And I had asked that Kemp Brothers, since the city countered, I had asked that Kemp counter, and they did. And their counter, I thought, was substantive, was appreciated, and was movement towards settling the matter. Their counter, which we discussed in the last hearing, roughly came from $1.8 million to $1.5 million, thereabouts. And we had continued the item to today so that the air conditioning issue could be resolved and we could finally put the bow on this and move along. Recognizing that we needed to have some additional discussion, likely because of the delta that still exists between the board's movement on the settlement number and Kemp's movement on the settlement number. So where are we now, Alan, regarding the air conditioning issue?
Hey, good morning, Commissioners and Bureau Heads, Mr. Jordan and Dr. Campos. Again, my name is Alan Kawaguchi. I'm Program Manager. Yeah, you summed it up. That's a big summary. The last time that we continued it, and the board had thought it was a good idea to get the air conditioning units addressed, and then we would meet back. And we basically set the date based on October 16th of a working schedule that Kemp would come in on approximately, or actually would come in on October 6th, begin the installation. Our commissioning agent would start on Monday. The commissioning agent is the one that actually goes back and tests the units to make sure the airflow's there, the temperatures are reached, and everything else. And then we would think that they would have about a week, and that by Monday, today, we would have all the information. However, Kemp did start the installation on the 6th. They ran into a little bit of difficulties in terms of the installation. The sound traps were a little larger than they couldn't get quite through them. They had to take out a window. As of Sunday, we had to get an answer to bring back our commissioning agent because we're flying them in. And at that point, we didn't feel that they had enough information or were complete enough to bring our commissioning agent in. So we had canceled the commissioning agents that was scheduled in for Monday. Kemp came back in on Monday, and on Wednesday, October 11th, they finished the installation. Our commissioning agent came in on October...
On Wednesday, October 11th, so 5 days ago they finished the installation.
Correct.
So it's done, okay?
It is now done. The commissioning agent came in on Friday, and he did test everything. Preliminary numbers look good, but he won't have his report completed till about another week. He is waiting for the tab, which is the testing and air balance from Kemp, because they do the first numbers, and he uses those in his report. So that's kind of what we're still waiting for. So at this point, the numbers look good, but we don't have a final report for us to accept yet. There's also some punch list items that we also feel that needed to be completed that Con Ed is watching over for us.
Okay. Alan, what would, before I go to and hear from Kemp, what would you, we got a couple of options, and we'll hear from Kemp as well today. We could try and get it resolved today. My concern with that is twofold. Your commission report on the air conditioning, while the numbers look good and the testing looks good, I'd like to have a signature, if possible. Secondly, you mentioned the punch list items. We'll ask them about their thought on when the punch list items, maybe that's something you guys can do offline. But I think at the outside, now that the air conditioning is done and we're just waiting for the signature of completion, what do you think?
I would request that the board...
If we had a number in agreement, what would you?
I would request that the board at this point continue the item for 2 weeks, approximately. That way our report comes back Friday or Monday, assuming it's all good. I mean, that gives it some time to, if some corrections have to be made, it could be made, but if not, I think Monday would be the earliest we'd even have the report in our hands, so we wouldn't bid it.
That would be the 23rd?
A week from today would be the earliest we would get it. And that's assuming that the test and air balancing from Kemp comes to us. We're being told that they're going to hand it over or give it to us either today or tomorrow, so that shouldn't be any holdup. But that would give the board 1 or 2 more meetings for any little tweaking that would go, because I'd hate to have it continued again because, gee, something didn't come in, the report's not finished.
How many punch list items?
Conrad might be able to address that at this point.
12 items left.
Okay, just some examples of what they are, Frank.
Some of them, they're small in nature, but the multiple locations, let's say, install vent caps on the sanitary waste vents on the rooftops, insulating trap covers for lavatories, men's and women's restrooms. That's in the training facility. That is documentation for some trench drain that was not installed, and we're still waiting for a clarification through an RFI that we haven't received. There is seal of penetrations, label of electrical boxes, multiple location, latch openings not closing properly, missing window hardware that needs to be installed. And then we got the biggest item, I would say, it's the electrical circuit for the rock garden that was never completed.
Okay, so before we even hear from Kemp, I'll televise a little bit what I'm thinking here. Obviously, I think that we ought to continue the item you asked for 2 weeks, but we still have a delta. The $1,058,000 that the board put on the table, the $1.5 million that Kemp countered from 1.8, which we appreciate. So we're closer.
That's correct.
I would be inclined to go up on our, because we still have that space in between. I would be inclined to move up from our $1,058,000 to get this matter settled. But I want a signature on the air conditioning, and the punch list items need to be clear, because if we're going to pay even more, then we ought to be done with this project. So I don't mind moving up to try and get closer to Kemp's number, but we need to finish all these items. So that's what I'm thinking about, and with that, I would let Kemp know that, and we'll hear from our colleagues after we hear from Kemp, but I'd like to, either Nigel Chalmers or Richard Trop, either one, that would like to speak, or any of you that would like to speak. It's up to you. In the spirit of trying to get this resolved with an agreement. Go ahead, sir.
Good morning. I'm Nigel Chalmers with Kemp Brothers Construction. I'm the project manager for the project. And I would like to address a couple of concerns to assure the board that as far as the HVAC work that was just completed, it's pretty standard to have formalized air balance reports as well as commissioning. But I was there, and so was Joyce Maurer, the BOE, to witness screenshots to see the CFM values that were acceptable, as well as to know that the test and air balances will come back as they should. And the commissioning agent, even though he doesn't report to us, assured us that his final report sent to the BOE is just a matter of getting the paperwork done. So as far as the HVAC system goes, it is performing, and the occupants will be in comfortable in that condition space as of right now. As far as the punch list, I was also aware of the outstanding items, and I can assure you that those are also very minor. And we take objection to some, but that's normal in our business. We feel we've done it. It just wasn't signed off. We tried to get in there this weekend when we were all on site doing the work, and we were prohibited from doing so because I didn't have approval to venture off away from the area of the HVAC work on a technicality. but those are small.
So just, is there anything we can help you with? You need access to other areas to get the punch list items done?
I need to have my crew, my foreman, and my superintendent walk with the Conrad inspector, and that was the objective, to go through these spaces with the LAPD and just verify that these were and weren't done. And if they weren't done, we would address them because they're small in nature. I would reference the rock garden, and that is actually not in scope. So if we had drawings here, I could flip them open because I've asked a question. Someone, please come back to me and tell me where that's required as far as not in scope and now appearing on a punch list as outstanding work. I don't think it's relevant to what we're trying to get done here today. And that's, I just wanted to update you guys on the punch list and the HVAC work as it pertains.
So, it sounds like other than a rock garden, we're in the same scope, and you all need some access. Alan, can you come back up? Could we? Oh yes, Mr. Rinaldi. Frank, go ahead.
Yeah, access through the building is not a problem. We have the keys to get in there.
Okay, but do you need
the question is that the contract is as small in nature that they are. They should do it. We've been waiting for a long time for them to do it. Just get it done and be complete. The rock garden, it's very clear. There is a change order. It's written in the drawings. They agreed to do it. Now they're changing their tunes. So that's where we're at with the rock gardens. If they were said from the beginning, we're not going to do it, then we got to explain where the documents are. That's not the situation. They agreed that they were going to do it. Now they don't want to do it. That's the story.
The other thing, President James, is that coordination of getting into the rooms, because LAPD is occupying the facility, they are running active classes, that takes a little bit more coordination, whereas typically before the client moves in, yeah, you can pretty much come into each of the rooms, do what you need to, move ceiling tiles. But in this case, we have to always ask, is it okay for us to come in on this day? That's why even the AC unit fixes, we had to coordinate with. And that's why I'm sure Kemp could have came in on Tuesday to do some of the finish up, but LAPD said they were occupying the buildings. You can come in after 4 o'clock on Wednesday. That's what takes it out. And that's, I think, part of the issues that when you're occupying the building comes up.
So let me put Alan, let me ask you a question about the rock garden.
Yes.
Interesting that we're on a rock garden here. This has had such a road, this project. So, other than the rock garden, if we take that out for a minute, would you agree that the scope and the list is, whether it's done or not, may be of issue, but what's on the list is agreed by both sides, other than the rock garden?
That's correct. I mean, we've gone over the list, and I don't think there's any argument with it.
And they're pretty minor, other than the rock garden.
Pretty much, yes.
Okay. So you'll work with, BOE will work with Kemp to get the access, because it is an active training facility now, obviously, an LAPD facility.
Correct.
To get the work done, they need to get done in the next few days on the punch list items.
That's not a problem.
Okay. And then we'll get the signature on the air conditioning.
As soon as the report comes in.
Okay. So then we just had this rock garden left. And Mr. Chalmers says no rock garden. Mr. Rinaldi says yes, rock garden. We could put it in the pool of items that we resolve because we can make it part of what the board's willing to offer to settle the thing.
That's correct.
And, we can do a settlement with a rock garden or a settlement without a rock garden. And if we want the rock garden really badly, they'll tell us how much they think it's going to cost them to do it. I mean, it can get done. Or if we feel like the rock garden is there, then we can subtract it out accordingly in our counter. So what I think we ought to do is continue the item to the 30th. We know everyone knows what our marching orders are on this punch list. We can the only question I have is, if we wanted to get if the rock garden were something we wanted to get done, it's something we want to get done before the 30th, right? Is it something we could get done before the 30th or no?
That'd be a question.
Let's assume that the rock garden was on the list.
Can I don't know if it's my place, but can I please appeal to you guys? I would hate to belabor this and prolong this anymore. The rock garden is outside of the contract project limits. There's a distinct line of where our work starts and ends. It's a code issue. We all looked at it through the 2 years that we were working on this job. when you look at the rock garden, if you guys know the facility, it's a tiered, rock sculpted, landscaped area that's sprinklered all the time. It's so old that when you turn the sprinklers on, the water comes into the conduits and it floods the electrical room. Our job was to put new panels, new circuitry in the electrical room to feed all of what was shown on the drawings. This rock garden was an orphan. It just wasn't captured. So I don't think it's fair just because they say they want it done, because I get that it's a space that's rented out for venues, for weddings. But we don't self-perform electrical. So I'd have to have Neil Electric come in, and they've looked at it. They've walked the job with Mr. Rinaldi there, and we tried to find a solution and a direction. But there was no change order issued. There's no document to support it. I have formally asked for that document before coming back to this hearing, knowing that it would be brought up, as it were. And there's no result for this other than to ask you guys to look and show us on the drawings where I can enforce this with a subcontractor who also has, issues with not being paid for such a long time on a project that ended a year ago. So we're talking about codes. If I were to go out there to get this job done, I would probably need about 20 RFIs and circuitry and electrical design and calculations done, and there's nothing to support that right now because, again, it's not design build. But we've tried to counter this, look at it fairly as we always had. That's our company philosophy, but it's just not in the scope. It's hard for me to call a contractor and have them mobilize this late in the game to do work that's undefined. He'd show up there with his tool bags and say, okay, well, tell me what to do.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chalmers. Mr. Rinaldi, you want to respond to that?
Yes, I want to respond to that. It's been explained 20, 30 times to the Mr. Contractor.
We had documents that support?
We have documents. We have documents. It's been shown. It's been agreed. I went over there personally, and I de-scoped the work by 80%, making it very simple for them to do it. I just asked them for a conduit from a panels to go inside the electrical room, provide a sub-panel, and we will have our own city forest make the connections. So they don't have to identify any conduit. All these 20 minutes of spill there we just heard, nothing applies to what they need to do. It's 4 hours worth of work to go over there. Put a conduit from an outside panel that's already installed, put a sub-panels and pull the wires. That's all he has to do.
So we're in
It's very simple.
Is it part of the scope of work in the contract?
Yes, it's part of the scope. And Alan,
frame
Mr.
it for you.
Kawaguchi can verify that we have
When
a
we
change
started-
order already in place.
When we started the project, the rock garden was fully functional. Okay, the lights went on and everything else.
Before the start of the project?
Before we started the project. And in our plans, what we have is we wanted to put in a new electrical panel. The panel is in place, and it is even labeled. It tells you where all the different circuits are supposed to be. But there's no wires connecting from the garden area to here. They actually were cut. As a compromise, what Con Ed had asked for was then at least bring the wires into the room, and then general services will go ahead and complete the circuitry connection. Because the police academy is out of having that area as a function area. They thought they were going to get it back in September when they got it. Then they thought they'd have it by, at least for the summer. So we told them that we're going to make good on it. We'll at least do the circuitry from the electrical room to the lights, but can they at least run the lines inside the electrical room where they originally were? And that's what Frank, I think, or the Con Ed believed that they had an agreement, but that's what we were waiting for.
Have we done?
So did we get
Just Commissioner Davis, just a moment. I'll get to you. Have we done the conduit work?
No. What General Services is going to do is they're going to actually just test each of the circuits, and then they said they'll just run and connect each one of them. I've already had them out there for about 3 days worth of work, and they're kind of looking at it and seeing how they would approach it. They said they can run it all the way back to the electrical panel that's put outside the building. Okay, but like I said, we have roughly a number, but again, compromise would be to how can please bring it inside the electrical room.
If I can clarify this, when the contractor made the demolition, the removal, they were supposed to identify the breakers that came from the rock gardens. They didn't do that. So when they demoed and cut all the wires, now they got a mess and they don't know where these wires are going. So that's their fault. So we're trying to help them and says, just put me a sub-panels with the number of breakers that we need to feed the rock gardens, and then we have general services doing the identification where these lights go and connect it to the right breaker, which should have been part of their scope anyway, but we said we're going to do that. Because now they're claiming that the wires are too short, they are old wires, they don't want to touch it, there is water coming through, Okay, I go along with all that. Don't touch them. We're going to touch them, but at least give me a sub-panels with the wires and the breakers installed.
Okay, Commissioner Davis?
Yeah, I was trying to, you kind of addressed some of it. I was unclear based upon what has been said. So, Alan, you said that it was not a part of the scope when we first started the project.
I did not say that, no. I said that it was, the lights and everything were working. They were supposed to put in an electrical panel to hook it up.
When you said when we started, the rock garden was what? Repeat that, please.
The rock garden was operational. It lit up and everything else. That's the way it
When we first started.
when, yeah, the police department and LAPRAC turned it over to the Bureau of Engineering. So they expect the same thing back when they get their facility back, that it was working then, it should work now.
When they started the construction you're referring to, right?
Correct, because they just had an event. In fact, that's partly how we started the notice to proceed, is we had to wait for one of their events to complete, and then we gave them the notice to proceed.
So did we get an agreement with the contractor that they need to do this? I do understand you to say that there was an error in terms of their failure to follow through on some of the aspects of electrical. Did we get an agreement with them verbally that they would do this prior to now?
We thought we had an agreement more verbally of saying, because they had said, we couldn't connect up because the wires were old, there's this. And so Con Ed had said, well, can you at least bring the wires into a panel, and then we'll go in from there.
Well, let me
They didn't
ask
agree to
them.
that exactly, but that's kind of, we thought that's what they
Use the word thought. Let me ask them, did we have an agreement, sir?
No, sir.
Okay. That's what I'm trying to get to.
Can I add some more to that?
Yes.
There's a main high voltage feed for the project that is within our electrical room, and everything branches out from there. We have gotten at no less than 6 change orders to refeed areas outside of our scope, such as the guard shack, the gun shop down away from the project limits, refeeding of running track lights, refeeding of parking lot lights. There's a lot of that had gone on, and with that came change orders, came RFIs, came electrical designs. We don't have that at the rock garden for that area above with, the reception space.
Now that I'm clear, what is it that we can do moving forward? I appreciate, because I was confused before, but I'm not confused now. And what I was seeking initially with my questioning was to be clear. And so now I'm clear what has occurred. Given that fact, we're trying to move forward, and I do know that for contractors, disruptiveness, whether it's on behalf of the client or some unforeseen situation, makes it very difficult to move forward in a timely manner. And there has been some disruptiveness here as far as the construction job for the prime contractor. Albeit, what can we do now to resolve and close the hole here, now that I'm very clear what went on? What can we do to move forward? Because now we're having to negotiate it here at the board. What can we do to move forward to put this thing to bed?
I would have to have you guys know that when we were trying to find a result before we came to the board, I was also on that walk where Mr. Rinaldi came in on a higher level, and he was trying to find a middle ground. What he did was he suggested some work where even Mr. Kawaguchi here said at least, and meet us halfway, or there's no compromise, but he was trying to find that. What he came up with was to have Neil Electric do some additional work so that GSD could come and finish the true work, which is to refeed and relight the space. That work was difficult as it was, and as small, a 4-hour deal. Neil Electric was unwilling because they've not been paid. They've enforced a stop notice on this job.
Why hasn't Neil been paid?
Because they're caught up in the same delays that we are trying to finalize the closeout on this job.
So the disruptiveness caused them not to be paid. They still haven't been paid to this date.
Correct.
So then, given the fact that Neil Electric is the sub on it, what can we do to make it good for Neil?
Well, if there was closure on this, and if this was earlier days, the solution that Frank Rinaldi came up with would have probably been something that they decided to do, even though they shouldn't have, because, again, the difficulty for us is it's public work. So if it's not on the drawings and it's not clear, it's hard to find subs that will do that work for free, for lack of a better word.
How can we communicate with Neil so that they can get what the city needs to have done? Obviously, we've had some disruptiveness on our behalf, and it happens on occasion. to pay Neil if it's, all, certainly I'm talking all within regulation. How can we do that? How can we talk to Neil, get them paid, get them to do what the city needs to do, and move forward to close the books on this deal?
Neil is, I can't speak for Neil at this point in time, but I can tell you that the work involved with relighting that is very extensive. There's code issues, there's a lot involved with bringing that space up to code because of all the conduit that's deteriorated, flooding the room. We got a change order from the BOE to epoxy inject that very existing conduit to stop the room from being flooded when the irrigation lines are on. So it's just very convoluted, but I just have to beg you guys not to blend that into what we're trying to achieve here today, because it's a totally separate issue that was thrown in as a, let's say it happened and it must have happened.
Are you willing to make sure that we make good on this particular unresolved construction item that needs to be done? I hear what you're requesting, and I'm clear about that. I'm also concerned about your commitment to help us to resolve this particular issue, given all of whatever the facts are.
Commissioner Davis?
Would you work with us to make sure that this is done?
I can assure you
this is an
that
issue of trust for me.
Yes, Commissioner Davis, I can assure you that Kemp Brothers, when it comes to outstanding punch lists, if it's something that's on the contract and required by us and our subcontractors, we absolutely will.
We can trust that you will
Yes,
help us
if it's
resolve
on the
this.
documents
and I'm clear
we are
what you're
responsible,
asking. I'm clear what you're asking, and I'm clear why you're asking it. You're asking us to move forward to resolve the other part of it, given the facts as has been discussed. And I'm clear about that. And I'm asking, despite all of that, because we have to have an agreement, we have to have integrity, but I'm also asking you in terms of trust, because we work together, that you will commit to making sure we resolve this unresolved construction issue that has been raised by the city, that we can trust that you will help us to do that as well.
Are you referencing?
I'm asking you, can we count on your prime contracting firm to commit to help us to resolve this unresolved issue that we are discussing now with the electrical?
Yes.
I understand what your request is,
Yes.
but I'm making an ask of you.
Absolutely. And I have asked the question multiple times for someone to get back to me to show me where that particular item exists, so that I can, if so, continue that discussion with the parties that are affected there.
Okay. I'm comfortable with that. It's up to the president on how you want to move forward, but I trust that I can trust you given this discussion.
To add some clarification, that electrical panel was actually set inside the electrical room. A change order was issued because Kemp had said, or their sub had said, that the panel wouldn't fit. Can we move it to the outside of the building? So we did issue a change order to move the panel to the outside, and we added enough money for all the wires to be pulled that length.
Sure.
What we're compromising, and I would still say it's a fine enough number to compromise, is pull the wires back inside the room, and General Services will finish it, because that's still a good amount of work. General Services needs about 3 weeks virtually going through and testing each line and then pulling lines that don't match up to get the rock garden back up to lining up.
Let me
The prime said, and I'll finish. You were talking to me, right, Alan?
I am trying to give you a little more information.
I just wanted to briefly respond that I hope that you're comfortable of the prime's commitment to finish this unresolved work that you have discussed with us a few minutes ago.
If they say they're going to do it, the Kemp's been very good at that point. I mean, even with the AC unit, they knew the city had issues with their first installer. They went out and got a second one. So if they give their commitment that they're going to resolve it, I'm sure they will.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Davis. No. On this issue, on the rock garden?
But I think what you had asked, is there a way to move this forward? I was going to address that.
Yeah, go ahead. Let me tell you while you're coming up here what I'm thinking of on the rock garden. The rock garden has a value. I just asked my guy what we think the value is for us to do it ourselves. And that number is minuscule compared to the delta that we're dealing with. So we're going to get the rock garden issue solved.
And that was going to be my point is, Richard Trop on behalf of Kemp Brothers. Real quick, back in August of 2016, more than a year ago, this project was fully occupied. Okay, in September of 16, Kemp Brothers built.
Are we going to go through the whole thing that we heard last time?
No. Kemp build retention, $1.8 million of retention, which the city is still holding every penny today. Public contract code is there for a reason. It's to make sure that if there is a dispute, the reasonable value of the dispute plus 50% can be withheld by the public agency. The balance of the retention gets released to the contractor, okay? That should have happened a long time ago on this project. These issues that are being discussed right now are minuscule when you look at $1.8 million worth of retention that's still being held. Okay, so yeah, there is a legal way for all of this to be handled. If there's a reasonable value that the city thinks these items are worth, tell us. Tell us what they are. Withhold 150% of the value, release the balance of the money to Kemp, issue solved. If there's a dispute still and Kemp wants to come back and perform those issues, they can. If they say, we don't want to or we dispute it, then there's a legal way to handle that too. But it's really not fair for all that money to continually be withheld from Kemp, and I'd go so far as to say wrongfully, since the statute provides the timing for retention to be released. That's something that the board should consider when talking about the value of Kemp's claim and where it lands, because prompt payment penalties are, I would say, far in excess of what you may think they are. So, just real quick, this hearing, this is now our third time. We were here because the contract requires it. Kemp didn't come looking for a global mediation. We had affirmative claims, which we asked this board to consider. The HVAC issue got brought in, which delayed us and is now going to delay us again. So Kemp's not interested in continuing to have hearings where an issue can get brought in and we get delayed. There's a lot of money at stake, a lot. So I thought it was important for you to know that, to understand that retention's still out there. It's a significant amount of money not related to any of these claims. That's a separate issue. Why it's being withheld, we don't know.
Thank you,
But
sir.
there is a vehicle there.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Rinaldi, was there this issue about, and I don't want to go down these rabbit trails, we're trying to get this thing globally done. The Neil subcontractor, have we paid for the electrical?
The project is being paid up to 100%.
So that would indicate a dispute between the sub and the prime?
I would suggest so. There was a stop notice filed by Neil on the project. That's where the dispute came in.
So I still think, I mean, look, I feel like we're close. Despite Kemp's frustration, both sides are frustrated. And we have, I don't want to, what we think is a $12,000 to $15,000 rock garden to tie up where we are on getting a global settlement. But I'm prepared to recommend to my colleagues that we pay more than the $1,058,000, but I'm not prepared to do that until we know that we have, because I don't think we have any leverage anymore if we on these items that we just can't get done. I've got our Bureau of Engineering expert here telling us that in 2 weeks, Alan, we're right, that in 2 weeks we can have the air conditioning signed off on and all the punch list items with a dispute over the rock garden that we won't hold against Kemp. Okay? Fair enough?
I believe so. That'll work. Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And then we can fold the cost of the rock garden into whatever to our movement. It sounds like we're going to end up having to do the rock garden ourselves, or else we're going to have to find a way to pay them to do it. Whatever.
Estimate from General Services to pull it in.
Yeah. But that is what it is. On my recommendation is, and then, sir, you can do it with it legally however you proceed, but however you wish. It's your client, your company. But my recommendation would be that we come back on October 30th with a confirmation on HVAC, and we will move off of the $1,058,000 that we have on the table, closer to the $1,500,000 that you have on the table. And if the Bureau of Engineering is here telling us that everything is done, forgetting the rock garden issue, we know that's another issue, then we have incentive to to get you out of here that day. Anything else?
I just want us to move forward, and I guess if that's your recommendation on the 30 days, and that's as soon as we can
No,
get it.
it's 2 weeks
2 weeks.
from
Okay.
today.
Okay, so if that's as soon as we can get it, I guess.
Well, Mr. Kawaguchi says that's as soon as we can get everything, right?
That's correct. Like I said, that's correct. We're waiting, again, for our part, we're waiting just for the commissioning report, which they need a week, but again, we need the the testing air balance report from Kemp. If that's delivered by today or Tuesday, which I think they told us they're going to have, I don't see a problem getting it by Monday. At least that part. The punch list items, I'm not in control of. That's how they have to approach it.
Right, but you can work with them on access.
Absolutely.
Okay.
So if they can get it sooner than that, Mr. Allen will make sure that we can do that.
Sure, I'm happy to hear it a week from today.
Yeah.
If everything gets done, that's really up to you, Alan, on when you want to submit the item for final consideration.
Again, I'm asking for 2 weeks because, again, the commissioning agent said he would have it back to us by Monday. If he's delayed and I had it scheduled for Wednesday, I'd have to come here to the board and say, we're not done. Can we go to the next day?
Got it.
So we're on the same page.
And I'm just saying, I don't want to do it to the board.
We're on the same page, and I understand that, and I'm just basically saying, because I am trying to look fairly at both sides of the table, and I certainly am committed to getting it done, and I agree with you. So, but my point to you is being sensitive to disruptiveness of these items that sometimes are unforeseen from the prime contractor's perspective as well. I'm just really concerned how we do business, and that you will, if you could humanly get it done before 2 weeks, do that. Because given all of the discussion about pay and all of this other stuff, I just want to make sure we do the best we can. And you have already said that. That was my hesitation, and I'm with you on it.
I just don't want to come back in and say, gee,
No,
we're a little short. Can we go one more day?
I just wanted to emphasize, if you could get it sooner, that'll be even
I appreciate
greater.
it. We will try
I really
everything we
want to
can.
see us put this one to bed.
We'll talk with the commissioning agent today, and as soon as we have tab, if we can move it up, I'll work with Dr. Campos in terms of trying to schedule a date, and if we can. But if not, we can do it for 2 weeks. We're set on that date, but if we can move it up, we can. We'll try.
Okay.
So I second your motion, Mr. President.
Okay, then, any objection? That's what we'll do. Thank you, everyone. Hopefully, we'll only see you one more time. Not that we don't want to see you on another project. One more time on this project. How's that? Better said. Agenda item number 3, solid waste hauling permit revocation, United Pacific Waste Incorporated, recommending that the board authorize the director of the Bureau of Sanitation to execute the following. First, revoke United Pacific Waste solid waste hauling permit number 09046, effective immediately for failure to remit unpaid AB 939 compliance fees. Secondly, direct the Bureau of Sanitation to notify the franchise service providers that UPW's permit is revoked in order to provide those franchise service providers with the opportunity to begin service to UPW's customers. Third, direct the Bureau of Sanitation to pursue unpaid AB 939 compliance fees via referral to the Office of Finance's collection program. And 4, direct the Bureau of Sanitation to refer the matter to the Office of the City Attorney for misdemeanor case filing if Bureau of Sanitation staff discovers that UPW collects, removes, or transports solid waste generated within the city after their permit revocation. That's what's written on the item for hearing, which we are required to read into the record. Commissioner Repenning, is there something to add before we go to the presentation that maybe changes the tenor of just what we're doing today? Or
Sure. I'm happy to report that there's been a lot of positive progress between our Bureau of Sanitation staff and the hauler UPW, so that we've established a proposed payment plan which begins today. Do you want to come on up? Thanks, Lorena. And I think the motion that we're proposing today would be to, number 1, hold in abeyance the solid resources permit revocation appeal process subject to the proposed payment plan for the amount due of $904,671.50 as follows. A, UPW to make initial payment of $50,000 on October 16, 2017. That's today. B, UPW to make 14 monthly installment payments with amounts distributed in accordance with the payment schedule as noted. C, if any of the monthly installment payments due is not received by the city on or by the 10th day of the corresponding month, or if during the life of this payment plan, UPW fails to comply with the payment requirements for quarterly AB 939 fees as they become due, the abeyance for the revocation appeal process will be lifted, and Sanitation's recommendation for the revocation of UPW solid waste hauler permit will be scheduled before the Board of Public Works as soon as possible subsequent to the missed payment deadline. D, upon UPW's successful compliance with this payment plan to its completion, LA San will administratively close the proposed solid waste hauler permit revocation and its appeal. I want to, so in summary, we have a 14-month payment plan, which is a little bit longer than we normally do. But, you know, our goal, as always with these items, is to achieve compliance and to get people in compliance. We don't want to be in a position of having to pull permits from businesses operating in the city of LA. So we're pleased to see the permit schedule that has been agreed upon as outlined in the motion. Obviously, if any of the payments is missed, after 10 days, we will be back in this boardroom, but we are going to hope that everything is able to be worked out. Lorena?
Good morning, Commissioner. Lorena Valdez with LA Sanitation. We did continue this, your board continued this item 30 days ago for 30 days so that we could try to reach an agreement. We were already negotiating prior. We did reach the agreement that you read, and I'd like to present it for consideration. Before we go on, the total amount is different from that stated in the board report because, as you recall, on page 2 of the board report, we had 2 quarters that we hadn't received reports from UPW for, and so we estimated the amounts. Part of the process, part of the 30 days, was making sure that they had all their paperwork in and that it had been reviewed by our staff. They also have submitted a renewal package for their permit in the event that you agree to this payment plan today. So as far as the documentation, everything is in. We do have an initial payment today of $50,000 from UPW, and then the payment plan would start next month, with the payment being due on the 16th of next month only because it's the first one, and they're trying to get, Mr. Candilian can explain a little bit more about the prospects for future revenue. But after that, all the payments will be due on the 10th of the month, and there is built into the payment plan a provision in case UPW is not able to comply.
Thank you.
Do you want to comment, sir?
Go ahead, sir. Are you, I'm sorry, I have the card. Are you Michael Candilian?
Yes, sir. I am.
Hi, Mr. Candilian.
Good
Welcome.
morning. So I just wanted to thank Lorena, the other Bureau of Sanitation staff members for helping us work out this plan. I do have the check today for $50,000. And
I think that's the first time that's ever happened here. A grant. Thank you, sir. Go ahead.
We're committed to making the payments. This is something that we obviously take lightly. We want to continue to do business in the city. We want to keep a good relationship with the city, and you know, this payment plan was kind of the bare minimum that I felt that we could come up with. I explained to Lorraine, I said, I hope to actually surprise you and actually come in, you know, if we have a $25,000 payment due, I actually hope to come in with 50 to 75 and hopefully get it paid off sooner. I just figured that this would be something that would just help us, something feasible to help us, you know, make sure we're not breaking our neck trying to make the payments. And as I explained to her before, if we ever did run into any kind of issue, we'd be very, you know, inclined to communicate that with staff to make sure that, you know, we're very forthcoming in any issues that do come up, but I don't foresee any issues. This plan seems pretty feasible, and we shouldn't have any issues.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. Any questions? Ms. Valdez, anything you need to add?
No, nothing to add. Thank you.
Okay. Commissioner Penning, so that's your motion as amended?
As amended.
Okay, I'll second it. Mr. Jordan, anything?
No, as amended, I think that's a good idea.
Great. So we have a motion seconded. Any objection? Without objection, we will adopt agenda item number 3. Any issue sending number 3 forthwith? We will send number 3 forthwith as amended. Thank you both.
Thank you, Commissioners.
Thank you to the Bureau of Sanitation as well.
Thank you.
Other than our adjourning motion, Dr. Campos, have we cleared the desk?
Yes, you have.
Okay, Commissioner Repenning has an adjourning motion.
I'd like to adjourn today's meeting in memory of one of our own, City of LA. What's his name on here?
Mr. VJ Desai, Desai, D-E-S-A-I.
Mr. VJ Desai from the Bureau of Sanitation. He's married. He was married with 2 daughters, one of whom just graduated from medical school. He joined the city 17 years ago. Before that, he worked for various consulting firms using his mechanical engineering background. And he was on our staff at the Watershed Protection Division, where he was the full engineer in the LA River and Dominguez Channels EWMPS implementation group. But I'm told that he helped anywhere that he could. Lately, he's been helping with a low-impact development ordinance public counter to reduce wait time. He will be very much missed by his colleagues, and it is sad to have to adjourn this meeting for someone whose death is certainly untimely. And our prayers are with his family. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Repenning. We are so adjourned.